Hey guys, welcome back to Physical Challenge Podcast. I'm here once again with my two co-hosts, Joshua and Mehdi. Joshua, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm ready to talk about this show. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
And Mehdi.
Yeah, I've been good. It's been a while since we podcasted, but I'm happy to get this rolling again. And we're talking about shows in. I would say it's a bit different than some of the shows we talked about before, but I think it'll be fun nonetheless. Lone, do you want to explain what show we're talking about today?
Yeah, so the show is called Mall Masters at the Mall of America. So it's basically it takes place in films at the Mall of America, which is like this super mall that's in the state of Minnesota. So it's more of like a traditional game show. It's like trivia based, and it has like different rounds than like the other shows that we've been covering that are more like long term. These are like more self contained with different contestants every time. So basically, it's like a standard trivia show. There's three contestants, and they all are answering questions initially. First, they answer a question, a survey-based question. The surveys are taken from patrons of this mall, the Mall of America, and they answer a question for control, and then they have to answer a question based on one of the mall's stores that one of the stores contained in the mall, and if they get it right, they get points. And as part of that, they also are getting help from the patrons in the mall, and if the contestant gets the answer right, then the mall person that's helping them also gets like a $50 gift card to that particular store.
So this is how I saw it going in. So I saw it's a Jeopardy, kind of mixed with like a little bit of Family Feud. Like it was kind of oddly structured because it's all based on stories in the Mall of America, which I actually did not know was not like a mall like in every American city. I presumed that's what they just call malls in the US. I didn't know a specific mall. Well, because I'm like, okay, Mall of America. Okay, that's your brand for malls. All right. So I was like, okay. I was okay with that, but now that you told me it's just one in Minnesota, have you been to the Mall of America alone?
No, I haven't. I haven't been to Minnesota at all. So,
is it big? I know nothing about. They make it sound so like
it's
the Mall
so.
of America.
All
so
I know is that like it is like the biggest mall like in the country. I meant to like look up some information about the show, but I mean, was it really worth it?
And y'all placed in the U.S., not U.S. Y'all placed in Minnesota, the biggest mall. Like, who's going to Minnesota?
So this is exactly what I thought about it, because for it to be called the Mall of America and for a whole show to be made about it in Minnesota, I'd assumed, it's in. I thought it was probably not in New York.
Yeah,
it's probably in like what's a step below New York in terms of popular states? Because in my mind, I think
California.
So I would say, from a British perspective, like Texas, California, New York, that's like the big three in terms of state. Oh, Florida, let's make it a big four in terms of states. What's like the step below those states?
Georgia?
Like that. I could see like that. That would be like a solid, the Mall of America being there.
Like
Minnesota, I think of Janelle. The end. Like, what else is in Minnesota? I think one of Big Time Rush was maybe from there, maybe.
Just like hockey and stuff. I know like one of my friends in another Discord is from Minnesota, so like all the stuff I know about Minnesota is like through him basically.
It's just because it's cold. Yeah, like as someone from Canada, they probably like, because it's cold, they have nothing to do, so there's like they really put up points on like sports, especially ice hockey. But there's nothing. That's what's weird about it. It's like even the format of the show is like, okay, I got into it. I'm like, this is like, I'm giving it a chance. It's kind of interesting. then it's like such specific stores, and the way they find people like in those specific stores seems very random to me. So like I feel like it's not structured the best, to be honest, for entertainment purposes, because I feel like the array of people they can just get like a couple boring people answering questions in the mall, and they have really no impact other than them getting a gift card on the game. So
Yeah, so I looked up a little bit about the mall. It opened in 1992. There's 520 stores.
520 stores. Why? Why does there need to be that many stores in any place?
On the east and south wings there are 4 floors, and on the north and west wings there are 3 floors.
Are some of them stores that people have heard of? Because I don't think I'd heard of a single one of the stores in this show. Not a single one.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna bring up, was that Bloomingdale's. That's a well-known like mall store. That's like, I guess if you think about like J.C. Penney or something like that, it's kind of like the equivalent of that, but I guess a little bit more like luxury. So like that's known, but like half the other ones, I want to like, I can't tell if they were made up like for the show, or maybe they're just like stores that are actually in that mall, because like those names like Kindle whatever, those are like general names. I feel like they could pass for like they could be in any mall, but like I'd have to do more research to see if like those were actual like stores that were contained within that mall at that time, or if they were just like made up for the show, because they could like the show obviously could have just made up any stores to like tailor the question towards, you know.
Well, with 520 stores, do you really need to just pick a store? Do you really need to make up a store at that point? But and also another thing, when I started watching the show, I thought the like host was Chris Hansen for some reason, but it ends up being Chris Harrison, which doesn't really make it much better. So I was like, oh, Chris Hansen hosted a game show before he hosted Dateline. And I was like, oh, no, that's not Chris Hansen. So I went through the first episode just thinking Chris Hansen used to be a host of a game show. And that was a bit of an adventure for me. What did you guys think about the host? It was Chris Harrison. Let's get that specific.
Isn't he? I feel like he's done others. Isn't he like the host of like one of those love shows or something? Or maybe that's like somebody with a similar name.
The Bachelor. He was the host of The Bachelor.
Yeah. So that was him?
Yeah. What do you think about it, Josh?
Wait, this is the same Chris Harrison, the host of The Bachelor.
This is the same Chris Harrison. I was like, he looks familiar. He sounds familiar.
It cannot be.
It's him. It's him. I wish.
On the game show Wikipedia, I can see. Yeah, he's known for hosting The Bachelor and the spinoff The Bachelorette, Bachelor Pad, Bachelor in Paradise, all the spinoffs.
Oh wow! Because I know that he's considered to somewhat a good host for The Bachelor. So
he also like
something improved.
Yeah, he also did like the last couple of seasons of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I think I know him for that too.
Oh, I remember that. What? So what I will say is, it's not that he was a terrible host, and along the same line, it's not that the contestants were terrible. The problem is so this show has very similar vibes to me of. So I know in America, some states have their own lottery shows, and they have like a television show that you can earn your way onto to win money. It has the vibe of one of those. This feels like a state television show. This does not feel like a show that airs on national television. Like if this show just aired just for Minnesota, I would think he is a great host. These contestants are great. But they had the whole of America to choose from, and then this is what they got. It just feels very...
Yeah, that's a good point. It is like, it's like one of those like state like lottery shows or something. That's what it kind of feels like. I never thought of that, but that's a good comparison.
The whole show just feels like it's a commercial first and the show second. It feels like this is more for the contestants to feel like they've earned a spot on this show, and people should aspire to do it, not to watch a show that's enjoyable. Not that the show is terrible. It'd be harsh to say the show is terrible. It just feels a bit like something's missing.
Can we say it's terrible though? Like maybe for the time it wasn't terrible, but like I feel like this show's aged like badly. Like you can tell the age of this show, not just because of the video talk, like the video quality. It just kind of like the format seems very lazy to me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so
Very.
it looks like it lasted. Well, it aired. Or the pilot was in December of 2000, and it aired on Game Show Network from January 2001 to April. So it could, but reruns aired until August. So it couldn't have lasted that long. Probably not
Well,
even like a full like season.
well, here's the thing. Okay, so it starts off kind of. This is why I compared it to Jeopardy. You have three contestants. They get to the host asks a question. One of them answers it, and then they have to pick a category. And the category usually is a place in the Mall of America. They go to the Mall of America, and then they have to answer another question to get points. But okay, that's very simple. It's digestible, whatever. But once we get to the part for the person that wins out of the three at the end of the show, you have the fast money section, but it's like a 50-50 with them getting like 3 lives. And I'm like, you're kind of like they're setting up their contestant to succeed too much because at that point, like there's no stakes to them actually losing. Like the part I really didn't like. I didn't really feel like that was a satisfying ending or the guy really knew what he was talking about. If you have 50-50 questions and you have 3 lives and you don't win, like I don't know what to say at that point. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I didn't. There wasn't any consistency because like in that round it was like A or B, true false, you know. But then like for the serve like the control question there was like the three options like for the survey like A, B, or C, and then for like the part when they were like getting help there was like the four multiple choice options. So I just feel like it was kind of all over the place. It's like stick to like if you want like one format of question, like just stick to like that one format. Also like what Josh was said that like they had people from the whole of America. I found the production company's website and says it was taped at the Camp Snoopy Theater inside the Mall of America in Minneapolis during November and December. Most of the contestants were from the Minneapolis area, many working at the mall itself.
Hold, I'm sorry. The contestants worked at the mall. Did you just say?
Yeah, that's what it says. Most of the contestants were from the Minneapolis area, many working at the mall itself. So not from the whole of America, and most of them worked at the mall.
So they put out a flyer at the mall and said who wants to be on a game show, and they just took whoever.
Oh, they should have leaned. I think the show would have been much better if they would have leaned into that. So they should have had 3 workers representing 3 of the stores from the I feel like this would be this that makes a lot more sense. I would have forgiven the casting a lot more if I'd known that. And they should have just made this people's primary personality is so when they did those very awkward intros, just position, hi, my name is Joshua, and I work at whichever of these random stores, and that's just their whole introduction. And that's just it. Why did they not do that? This is so stupid.
It would have been more simple. Like I could digest. Here's another thing. If we go like the sadistic route, they could have done this. They could have done the same thing where they represented them, but instead of a prize money, they could like dangle like the end of the year work bonus or something, and then just you kind of creates you like the contestants are going to be more competitive because like their actual livelihoods on the line. It's kind of sadistic in a way, but I mean.
You have 3 contestants each episode that work at the same store, and the winner gets a promotion.
I think that'd be so fun. It'd be intense. There's real life drama in there. Like, but I mean,
yeah, I feel like like it's like they have like Mall of the America in the name or whatever. I feel like it didn't really take advantage of like because like this like show is so stock that like they could have filmed it anywhere. Like the mall aspect doesn't really add to anything. I don't know. I kind of like mall. I don't know if I like malls. I'm just interested in them as like a time capsule or whatever. But if I was like doing a show called Mall Masters, I would like use the mall to my advantage and have like establishing shots and everything. Like not just like these weird like B-roll going into the break of like this random like worker on the side is saying like, "Hi, I'm on TV." Like it's just like a basic show. They didn't like use the mall like factor in any of it.
Just rewind for a moment. Were you just saying that malls as a concept are a time capsule?
Yeah.
You don't like malls?
I've done a lot of like YouTube like rabbit hole stuff lately, and like I don't know about over there like in the UK, but like malls are like dead here. They're like they're failing so bad. I watch all these like abandoned like YouTube videos about like so many malls that just like are just sitting like rotting like in decay. But I don't know if it's different there for you.
Is that in the US though? Like,
I guess so because I'm being like, is it not? Is that not how it is there?
No, people still go to shopping malls. Like what?
Even after the pandemic?
People still go to shopping malls. I think the difference now is it's not like a cool place that like teenagers would just go to hang out as much, but it still happens. But grown adults still love going to the mall. Like, are you
where do you do your shopping?
exact? What?
Who, me?
Like, wait, yeah, you're saying it's the time capsule. Where are you shopping? Where are you getting like like? Are you just online like Amazon the whole time, or like how do you get stuff?
Or if we're being honest, I don't like shop a lot. But when I do, it's probably either online or like in just like standalone, maybe like brick and mortar stores, but not like malls, like self-contained malls with like the different.
Do they not have good malls in Texas? Like I'm shocked. Like malls are still like pretty like they're pretty. They have like they have event stuff at malls. They have like event rooms. Like there's a lot of fun stuff to do at malls still. So
This must just like be a cultural barrier thing to here, like between like the different places we live, because like malls, like in America, like there's malls are dead. Like there've been news stories about like how malls are just not a thing anymore. But
Are these just
I guess
are
that's
these
just here.
are these just malls in just random places?
Well, the ones that I'm talking about, like that I've seen, like YouTube, like docs and stuff about, some of them are, and that might be part of it because they're like small towns that like where the mall was like basically the cultural hub of the whole, city or whatever. But I don't know. I've been to malls like there's I mean I'm in Houston, so like we have like a couple, but like there's a mall that's probably not 20 or 30 minutes from like where I live, and that was like the mall that I used to go to sometimes. But I don't know, I just never really was that kind of person to go to a mall, probably because I didn't really have anybody to go with. Sometimes I go like with family, but I don't know. It's probably just like a cultural disconnect thing because I'm like probably most of my exposure to malls has been like through the media, like watching like old movies and that kind of thing. So I don't know. It just interests me. I think probably also because like you said earlier, it was like a teen hangout, and that was like an '80s '90s thing, and like that's kind of like my aesthetic that I like is like the '80s and stuff. So I don't know, kind of just like is on a different level with me. But yeah, I think malls in the United States at least are dead.
Okay, so we've established that some like random malls in Iowa or some random place like that are not utilized. Do people still go to the Mall of America? Why is there a roller coaster in the Mall of America?
I looked it up. The Mall of America has a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. A lot of like these mega malls like that. Like I was just watching one yesterday about like this mall that's in New Jersey that took like 20 years to build, and they're still not basically done with it. Like sometimes like they have like these other experiences like theme parks like inside of malls, but that's just like the mega malls. Like, it's like a rare occurrence. Most of like your average like neighborhood mall probably just has like a kids court or a kids like area or whatever, and that's it. Or like a couple of rides like out on the outside that are just for kids. I think another thing also like here is outlet malls are more prevalent now. And they kind of like maybe took over like the traditional like indoor mall.
Would you consider that still a mall though? Like the outlets, or are they just a different thing altogether?
I don't know. I feel like it's two different things.
So you were talking about malls being dead, but like, okay, so I live in a city that's our biggest attraction is our mall. It's like one of the biggest malls in the world. So you saying they're kind of dead? I'm like, they're kind of like the livelihood of the city runs through the mall. So I'm like,
It
dead.
Yeah, then like I was saying earlier, like I think like Joshua was saying is like maybe like in the Midwest or like in these small towns, like they like the malls, like the cultural hub. Like there's like city events, and like that's where most of the like economy runs through that. But I guess if you're in like a bigger city or whatever, where you have like multiple malls you can go to, and there's all this variety, it's not as much of like a
You see how
thing.
dull this show was? We're just talking about malls, man. This show was no. I'm not gonna be nice to you. The show was bad.
I
The
could
show,
talk about malls for like hours. I don't
the
care.
show was so bad. Like the contestants were dull. They were not interesting at all. The guy that ended up winning wasn't likable. Um, it was such a waste of 20 minutes. I'm gonna be honest with you.
We just
I'm like, this is the biggest. I was watching this at work. I was watching this episode at work, and I'm like, oh, I want to get back to my work because this episode sucks so much.
It just felt like a really bad Supermarket Sweep knockoff. It just felt like I was watching Supermarket Sweep, but with none of the fun.
like a what?
Like Supermarket Sweep, but just none of the enjoyment.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was also reading, and it said like this was like the third show that they had done like with the mall concept. Like I'm familiar with like Shop Till You Drop and Supermarket Sweep and all that. I think they did one more. Let me see. But yeah, those it's just like basically like a cheaper version of that. Oh, Born Lucky, that's the other one. It's like I think that I've seen clips of it. It's like a really old, like from the 60s, 70s or whatever. But those were all like fake shops, that are on a set or whatever. This one, I just feel like if I was doing this show, I would have done a lot more with it.
If you're gonna film a show in a location, you have to utilize the location for like what it is used for.
Yeah.
So if you're going to film a show at a shop, if we're not watching people do any shopping, it's not gonna work.
Like yeah, I'm usually like positive. That's why I say that like, oh, my opinion on like different shows doesn't mean anything because I'm usually positive. I usually like look for positive stuff. I couldn't really find anything. I was like, I'm gonna ream this show. Like I don't ream any show like ever, but like I can ream this show because I don't find any like redeeming qualities in it.
I always keep it in, man, because I was like, we got to talk about this. I want to be positive. It's like, no, this show sucked. I can't hide it.
Oh, you mean like when Josh said that like we should have just recorded this while he was in here, so he wouldn't have to put himself through it.
Even before, so I've been available for the past couple of weeks. But even before I watched this show, I just saw the thumbnail of it and I read a bit of it on Wikipedia. I thought if I miss this, I'm not going to be upset. And then when I found out this week that we were still on this show, I was like, oh great. I was like, I'll watch it.
I'm not gonna. Yes. Well, there's like this like clip from Bob's Burgers. And it's like, fine, I'll do it, but I'm gonna complain the whole time about it.
But that's what I always do. Like for once, it's nice to not be the only person that has like be very bluntly like this was bad. Because I would say that of the three of us, I'm definitely the most
You're the Simon Cowell.
Critical makes me sound better. We'll go with Simon Cowell. I like that as well. I'm definitely the most willing to be critical about shows. So it's nice that we're all on the same page that this was absolutely horrific. Well, no, I wouldn't say it was horrific. I think that the show was pitched to the wrong audience.
I just want to like watch one of those like state lottery shows now. Like do an episode on one of those.
I think those would be more entertaining. Like
they are. As someone that's watched them, they definitely are. I watched those and like I'd love to go on that. This show, if you offered me a spot on this show, I'd have to actually consider do I even want to waste my time doing it? Like it's that bad.
Since they couldn't find anyone outside of that area, apparently that wanted. Well, I don't. That's the thing though. Like, did they? I feel like they were like, oh, we can get away with doing this, like with just local talent. But didn't they say that like, oh, they didn't say where they were from. They just said what they did.
Yeah, and like
you should have known then.
I was trying to get one. Like one of them talked Korean and was an assistant. The other one I just put blonde women. Like these contestants, they weren't retaining in my head. They weren't entertaining. The dude was there was nothing good about this show. But I'm glad we talked about it because we haven't talked about it. Like I don't think we've been this critical about a TV show that we have watched yet. So like I feel like this is a little breath of fresh air that like we can tell the audience like, you know what? Not everything we watch is going to be pretty entertaining or fun. You're getting nothing out of this show. I don't recommend to watch this show.
You think the contestants are all NPCs?
They all look like NPCs. The dialogue is all like standard. It looked like it was all written. Like all this was written by like a bad writer that failed out at film school, and like that's how it felt to me watching this show.
I couldn't even tell if there was like an actual audience. Like it could have easily just been like a laugh track or something because like the jokes were not hitting for me
the
either.
host just didn't know how to respond to people. Like
Yeah,
they would say something.
I don't think prep them.
And given that he now hosts The Bachelor, like, was this just good practice for him? Because on The Bachelor, I know and The Bachelorette, that some of the contestants don't really give much in terms of the edit. They receive are very one-dimensional. These contestants had very, very similar vibes to that. But at least, like, The Bachelor contestants are pretty. Like, they're boring, but they're pretty at least.
Maya was pretty okay. Maya was bae.
Was that the one? Was that the one on the left?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember the other girl was Molly. I don't know why that stuck with me. I have no idea what the man's name is. I could not.
Maybe because
I got it. I got the man's name. It's Reed because I was like, let me do my little research and just get their names at least. But like,
okay, so we each got one of the. So between the three of us, we managed to remember names of 3 contestants.
Maybe it's because they cast someone named Molly on a show about malls. So it stuck with you.
Oh, that's even worse.
It stuck with me because one of the answers she got correct was someone whose name was her name.
Which one was that?
Molly. One of the answers to the question was Molly someone.
Oh, Molly Ringwald for 16 Candles. Yeah. I only know Molly Ringwald because of Riverdale, but that's another story.
How many?
Ew. Wait, no. I gotta call him out. Why do you watch Riverdale, Lone?
What were you gonna say?
No.
Lone, you gotta you opened up the can of worms. You mentioned it. Why did you watch Riverdale?
Sometimes people like watching train crashes, that kind of thing,
Did you enjoy this?
Only because I knew I was gonna be able to like shit on it later.
So, what I'm curious about is how many of these stores are still a thing?
Like open? That's a
good
thing.
Well, that goes like into my other point of like, were these stores that are like just because like the whatever the restaurant thing, that sounds like a local thing. So I'd have to like see if those were actual stores like in that mall at the time of them filming it. Because I wouldn't put it past them to like I was saying earlier, I wouldn't put it past them to just like make up the name of a store just so. Oh, and another thing, like they weren't like fooling us. Half of those people that were like, the audience player or whatever, half of them were like all in the same place. It's not like they were actually like patrons that were at that one store that were in the question or whatever.
Well, do you think they just hired a bunch of like extras? Like everyone here is just like an extra? Even contestants, everybody. Oh, you could win this much money, but you get like a $50 like gift card for them all if you join the show. That's what it kind of seemed like to me.
It's just so bad. They really stopped some of the most boring people in this store that I've ever encountered. They were just dull and it was bad. And I remember there was one time where the contestant clearly knew the answer, but they had to hear from the person in the mall. And the person from the mall was still just taking their time to respond. It was like, can you just say something so we can move on with this?
Yeah, also, there was no point to that at all.
They only asked like 5 questions or something ridiculous for the lightning rounds. The show's pace is in like 5 and more questions. The show's pace is so slow.
The control questions don't even like really matter in the long run because you don't get points off of them. It's just like for control of the real question.
And it was a weird structure of surely you'd want to be moving a bit faster. So the system should have just been have them buzzing on the same question so we can at least get the control question done faster. It was so slow. It was so slow.
Guys, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Can we talk about other shows? This show we've taken up enough time.
We went 40 minutes though. Aren't you proud of this?
I never want to look at. I don't even want to go to a mall anymore. Like this show's turned me off. I don't like malls. I just turned me off malls. I'm not gonna go to a mall.
No, we all have
this
to
is
visit.
this show is why no one goes to the mall in America now. This is why malls are a dead thing. This is why Loach are convinced no one likes the mall now.
No, we have to all go to a mall in each other's country now. That's the next task in all of this.
I've been to them all in the U.S. I thought they were pretty enjoyable, but like, I mean, clearly this show is like at the bottom of the. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. What have you guys been watching this week? I don't even want to spend my time on this.
Oh my god. Well, I finished. I don't know. I'm a big. I don't know if you guys ever seen it yet, but the Traitors. I finished the Traitors Australia.
I've still yet to watch Australia, but I have watched the other two.
That's the one like version I hadn't watched so far out of all the English versions, and it was. I liked it, but it still has like the typical Australian tropes of like under editing. Like we didn't see like the person who won. They didn't get like an edit until like the back half of the season. There's one person who like wasn't even in the show until like the back half of the season. So, typical Australian TV tropes.
So
Are there black people?
Oh.
There was one, I think. And she got eliminated like really early.
Sounds like Australian TV.
I mean, I do love my Australians, but like there's always that.
MasterChef Australia always seems to have diverse casts, but just nothing else does.
But yeah, I wondered what it is. It's very odd. They're like, oh, this is a great cast, and it's like, oh, damn.
Well, I mean, I've seen that people are like, it's still actually pretty true to like the demographics of the actual country. But I mean, like, not that that's an excuse or anything, but it's like they need the 50% POC rule there, I guess, too.
Well, even if like they can get 30%, like who are we getting? We're getting maybe one or two POCs in the cast, and then
that's what somebody was saying about this. There was like, because there was like one like Asian woman, one black woman, like one like Indian guy. So
yeah,
that was your diversity.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that like diversity in the country is more diverse than we're seeing on television for sure. But out of the Traitors, you watched all of them so far. Lone, you watched Australia, you watched the US one, you watched
the English versions. Yeah, I'm probably gonna like go to some of the international ones now.
Which one would you say? I haven't watched any of them. I know the format of the show. I have not watched it yet. Which one would you say is the best one to watch first?
Well, yeah, somebody asked me that. Like, and if I was ranking them, I'd probably say like, in my opinion, Australia, then UK, then US.
What I will say though is that with US and UK, if your UK is better, but you need to watch US first because if you watch so US was filmed first, and you can but it came out afterwards, and you can tell watching it that they learned from the US version, because there's some mechanics that the US version does that the UK version then does much better. So then watching the worst version of it second is very clunky.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I like about the Traitors is that like even though you have like the same like basic format of like Traitors versus Faithful or whatever, each individual like local version has like their own tweaks to the format and different like twists and stuff, because like for example in the Australian version, like you have the shield, like you have the same shield, but like not only does that protect from the murders, but it also protects from the banishment. So it's like a double power in the essence. So
is it like a good immunity idol, or is it like an individual immunity? How does that work? Sorry.
It's so like like there's like the 2 rounds of like the group is voting to banish someone out of the game, and then like the Traitors are murdering someone. If you get the shield in this version, like it protects you from both of those. So basically, like you have a full round of immunity.
So in the Australian version, do the Traitors know who has the shield?
Yeah, that's another thing. It's not like the US UK version where they go into the armory and they go pick it. Like it's a public challenge. So like the Traitors can go for it, the Faithful can go for it, and everybody knows who it is.
Gotcha. Because in the UK version, so it works. It's kind of like a super idol for the round in that sense. Whereas you have it, and then if they attack you, then it saves you. So it gets it's like it's a form of immunity they don't know that you have. Yeah.
Yeah, that just like adds another like element to like, because you'll see that like in some rounds the traders decide to go for it so that they don't have to like worry about having someone off the table.
What else is there that has been on television? So we've not talked about Survivor for a bit. Are we enjoying the current season?
Survive.
That's not a good start.
It's not okay. It's not like I don't like what's going on. I don't know why I'm not invested. I don't know if it's the cast. I don't know if it's the gameplay. It's just I feel like usually at the merge is where I get like really invested in the season, and then it takes me to the home stretch. Then the finale usually disappoints me. But like right now, I just feel like there's a big lull in the gameplay because I kind of can see what's happening, and I feel like the editors aren't really hiding it well, per se. So I feel like I can see where the season's going, and I don't really. I like a little bit like it's good to see where the season's going, but like it's not too obvious. Like, what do you guys think?
Are you one of the purists who doesn't like all the shenanigans?
I like a little shenanigans. I like immunity idols. I'm okay even with the rights negotiation, whatever. Like there's just too,
Hold
going
on,
on.
pause. I don't know what rise negotiation you're talking about, because in this season there was a Jeff telling you give up this many people, there was no budging. If there's no budging, was it a negotiation or was it Jeff saying do this or else?
Sorry, the rights ransom. It wasn't the negotiation. I don't mind that, but like, other than I like some of the characters, but I just don't. I'm not feeling this season. I'm not really keeping up with a lot of coverage, which is very odd for me. So I don't know. What do you guys think so far about the season?
I like the personalities of the cast, but that's it. It's just not exciting. We're just this whole 3 tries without a swap situation just grown tired.
They did swap.
No.
One person swapped on every team for 2 rounds.
That very suspicious swap where there was no guarantee that the swap legitimately happened in a proper way and it wasn't production choosing who went where. The whole thing was just bad. The whole thing was so bad. It's just dull, and the cast kind of just knows how to play it now because it's the same as 41 and 42, and they just knew there wasn't going to be a proper swap. It's just so bad, and it's just now these 3 dueling groups going against each other. It's not exciting. I'm not excited watching it.
They might as well have just like stayed in tribes, like, because that's basically what it is.
Well, that's what's
Except
weird.
now it's like the tribes versus each other instead of like it being tribes, like trying to self cannibalize.
Well, here's the thing that's weird. If you have 3 pairs of 3 going in like a season, you're like, oh, this is going to be dynamic. This is going to be fun to watch. For some reason, it doesn't seem fun to me. Like it seems
it's not
dull.
giving.
It's not giving at all.
There also just hasn't been a proper individual immunity challenge the whole season. I'm really annoyed.
What do you mean by that?
I know.
So let's look at every challenge that's happened ever since the tribes disbanded. Final 12 was a challenge in teams. Final 11, although was still a challenge in teams. Let's be like, although they stood by themselves individually, it was still a winning team. And then what? So final 10, they competed as pairs. Final 9, we've had people sitting out. Can we just do an actual challenge with everyone playing, please? And one person's going to win and everyone else is going to lose?
Yeah, you are not lying. I just went to look at the episode breakdown, and there hasn't been a thing where like a lot of people have been able to be voted out. And
it's just so silly.
Why?
But they were all able to be voted out the last time.
Yeah, but if you look at the merge, that's not been a lot of times where everyone is able to be voted out. That's the issue. Like at the merge, it's supposed to be a free for all, not this. Oh, this group of people are immune and this group of people aren't. Like, and they've leaned into the tribal thing too much. Like, it's easier to if you're a player, wouldn't you want to stay within your tribe? Because like, regardless, you don't know these people. Like this, they really need to bring the swap back. This is such a dumb idea. by production.
My thing was that, like, how you're saying, like, they've been doing, like, the team things, or, like, half are safe or half aren't, or whatever, or they're competing, like, in two different groups. Like, if they're so married to that, then, like, why can't they just do two tribes? Like, that's basically the same thing they're doing. They're doing three, and then they're doing, like, these teams or whatever, but, like, they're not technically tribes. Like, what's the difference between them doing that and just having two actual, like, fully fledged tribes? Because like I said, I'm still like I haven't, like, I'm pretty new, like, newer, like, to Survivor, and I was like going back, and there haven't been like that many two tribe seasons since I even started watching. So I feel like that would be different for me as someone who's still like relatively new to Survivor, is seeing like a two tribe split from the jump.
I will say, so I do see the benefits of the game starting with three tribes, because I think it's easier to get to know. It's easier to get to know characters on smaller tribes. But the tribes need to swap quickly. Like I would not be opposed with doing three tribes, and like episode 3 they swap into two new tribes. Like at like final 16, get them out of these tiny tribes fast. But I understand why they like the small tribes. It's like the idea of Survivor is now dangerous. It's also probably easier for them from a storytelling perspective to tell the story of 6 people at a tribal council compared to like 12 people at a tribal council. But still, no.
But I've also seen like people say that, like, with the three tribes, that like sometimes one is just like totally like under edited, and you don't know anything about them, especially because like you have like one that's always going to tribal, and so you're gonna like definitely focus on that one more than the other two. And then there's probably one that's always like winning, so you probably won't focus on them.
But shouldn't like the editor's problems, like that should be like, regardless, if you're trying to tell a coherent story, you're supposed to show a little from every tribe, even if they're winning and their story's like not in the forefront. Like, give us little like tidbits here. And I think that's going to really improve, because there's a rumor that Survivor's going to 90 minutes starting next season. I think that's going to improve the editing a lot. So what do you guys think about that?
I would be a lot more optimistic if this was getting announced after the season was filmed. In a perfect world, I wish that the production filmed the season and then had to make that 90 minutes with what they already have. Because when I hear they're going to have an extra 20 minutes of time, as in 20 minutes when we cut out the adverts, what comes to mind is they've got 20 more minutes to pack in additional nonsense into the show. Not 20 more minutes to show us more stuff. Now, I'm hoping they pad the time with doing reward challenges every episode and then just more camp life. I see them thinking, oh, we can do a journey or a twist every single episode now.
Oh, no, please no. I'm hoping get like, yeah, 20 additional minutes of camp life would really help us like connect with the cast. Hopefully I can't believe you said that. Now I'm thinking they're gonna add some stupid thing where they're taking coconuts up a mountain for like a nonsense advantage that no one cares about. Please don't do that. I'm begging you, please don't do that. I was excited when I heard 90 minutes, but now I'm not. I'm less excited. Lone, what do you think about it going to 90 minutes?
I mean, I'm gonna like probably watch it no matter what, so I don't have too much of an opinion, but I'm just like tending to lean towards what Joshua was saying, is that it's just gonna be more of what we don't like. We're getting stuff that we don't necessarily want in this 60 minutes, so they're probably just gonna like pad it with more, like, I don't know, immunity or more twists or whatever.
On that note, do you guys think we're gonna get a returnee season on season 45? There hasn't been anything posted, but a little speculation would be fun.
No.
Really?
I don't think we're getting on for a while still. I think we've still got. I could see it maybe at 47. I don't think it'll happen yet.
Oh, that's why I was thinking they were going to do the 90 minutes. Like, oh, we're coming back with returnees and we're doing 90 minutes. It's like, oh, we're doubling it. We're showing a returnee season. We're showing more of what's happening in the camp and stuff. But I was thinking it was going to be something like, maybe I saw a rumor online that's like they're going to try doing maybe like a captain season, kind of like they did in the Philippines. And which other one did they do that? Kind of Redemption Island. Would you guys be open to something like that?
Like captains, so like the captains being returnees and then the rest being newbies.
Yeah. If you've watched Philippines, kind of like that, where they like returned 3 players and they kind of were like they were kind of the captains of each tribe, but they're like not like just kind of a representative of each tribe. That's kind of
but not in the game.
they're in the game. They're in the game. That's kind of
Oh.
what it was. What do you think about that, Josh? Specifically, I would love to know your thoughts about that.
I mean, I don't hate it, but it's just like, why? Like, if we look at captain seasons, where I don't look at any of them like, oh, I'm so glad that we did the captain season. Actually, no, that's a lie. I liked Philippines as a concept, so I could get behind the whole, oh, let's bring back some medevac people again to do that. But I'm also just like, we just don't need to do that. As a whole, the half and half seasons for me don't really have that much excitement. Like, even though it's not a full half and half, it's kind of like let's either bring people back or let's not do that. I don't typically enjoy the game starting with some kind of inherent power imbalance because some people are experiencing, some people are not, and that puts people on a pedestal. I'd rather just watch a group of new players going at it or a group of returning players going at it.
Because, yeah, I get that. I forgot the last actually captain seasons was the Edge of Extinction. I forgot that was a captain season.
Oh my goodness.
That was not a good
the captain season where I think every single returning player's reputation is hindered as a result of them participating on the season. There aren't many, but there are this being a good example of that. Every single person comes out of the season looking worse out of those four.
I think. Oh wait, yeah, that four. I was thinking like Penner didn't come out that bad. He kind of just stayed the same, I'd say.
Yeah. I think most seasons there's at least one person that comes out looking better. Because if in Philippines, like I'm trying to think. I think actually, yeah, no, in Philippines, what I think it helps Russell's legacy. I think.
Oh, he was so much more like entertaining on Philippines and Samoa, so like I was enjoying him a lot.
Because Scoopin ends up looking worse in that season. Even before all the other stuff happens, he looks worse than his legacy. I think Stephanie definitely came out looking worse.
But I kind of in Guatemala, she looked. It was kind. I liked her more in Guatemala though, even though she came out worse. She kind of showed more.
I can imagine that us as fans probably got into it, but I imagine to a casual audience, because keep in mind people were living for Stephanie back then.
Yeah. Man, Nolan, you need to watch all these seasons so you can jump into some of these combos.
What's that?
You need to watch like the Guatemalas in these seasons because like I'm like we're talking and it feels like they're talking a different language. I have no idea what they're talking about.
I'm waiting to have your moment.
This is your moment, Hacker.
So, Lone, it wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't ask you. Are you keeping up with the challenge?
See, I told him that I wasn't gonna mention it or anything the last time, and then he went and brought it up. So that was out of my control. I was gonna go and see it and go a couple of podcasts and not mention it, so I wouldn't have that criticism. But yeah, I have been. It's still a good season. We actually like lost a couple of people because of sickness, injury, that kind of thing. So they did a swap where like two people that weren't leaving but lost partners, like basically joined up to have a team. But yeah, it's almost over and it's been a good season. I think a lot of people have been like liking it more than the traditional seasons because there's been a lot of contention and like the veterans not getting what they want like they usually do.
Is it better than Challenge USA? Would you say?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that was a quick yup. Damn, you read. Tells a lot what you think about Challenge USA.
Also, like I don't know if you guys know, but like that's also currently filming, so the new season of that.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like the cast for that season because they're putting a bit too much MTV into. I guess because they're part of the same thing now. They want to like. I feel like they're trying to get rid of the MTV version and just make it Challenge USA.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people think, that they're trying to like transition it into being like a CBS only show. But like another thing is that like it's rumored that like this next season of USA is gonna only be on Paramount, so that would kind of like defeat that rumor.
Well, they're finally using Paramount. But and before we end the podcast, have you guys been keeping up with BB Can? I've been seeing a lot of online. Everyone's calling it a really good season. I haven't kept up with it because if there's no,
I do not care how good it is. If you do not give me live feeds, I'm not watching. I don't need to watch an edited version of Big Brother. without being able to put it into the perspective of what's actually going on. I don't care. I'm
Not
I'm happy.
even
I'm
not
happy
even
that
at the
people
end of the
win.
year when it's all out, so you can binge it all.
No, because I want to. Because so even if I'm binge watching a season of Big Brother that happened in the past, it means I can like fact check. Like, did this actually happen the way that we're believing it happened? That's part of the fun. Still, is the fact that if there's something that's just majorly different, I would know about. Like Big Brother Canada 6, for example, it can be enjoyable because you know the real context. Where some of the stuff you're told happened did not happen whatsoever, and then you can find out afterwards. Oh, this is what actually happened. This is not fun if I have to rely just on the edge of the episode, which historically Big Brother Canada is not good at telling the story of what's happening in their house.
Lone, do you think they've gotten better at that this season? Because so many people have been saying this is a good season. Like, so I'm saying, like, have they like improved that to such kind of like the missing the live feeds isn't as bad? Or what do you think?
Like what, the storytelling?
Yeah, the storytelling in the episodes. Do you think like are we still getting like Wendy's ads and all that garbage that like used to fill up the episodes? Like, are we getting more of that, or is that less of that, and we're actually getting content?
Well, yeah, I told Medi before that like this last week was the double eviction, so I wanted to like because I've been behind for a couple of weeks, so I went to catch up. So I actually watched in one day. I watched like 6 or 7 episodes like to get caught up. So basically, and then I watched this week's episode. So I probably watched like 9 episodes of it in the last week. But I was surprised because they actually went a good stretch of that without like any spawn con, is what I call it. Spawn, like people call it like sponsored content, but yeah, like you said, it's kind of inherent that like you're asking if you're asking like are they better at like telling a good story. I can't say that because like we're still just getting the dailies, which is only like 2 hours or whatever. I don't watch the dailies. I just like read what people say about them, but you can't even say like tell if they're giving you a better story because like Josh said, there's no live feed to like back it up or anything like that.
So I actually watched a couple of digital dailies at some point because so I was on Discord with some people that were watching, so I was like, okay, let me sit and watch them with them. One of these digital dailies, they spent the entire like half of it, like 50 minutes, playing some rhythm game, and half of these people had no rhythm as well, just make it even worse. Like, oh my god, it was bad. They were unable to do a simple beat. It was not very hard. It was like there was a couple of hit the chest, there was some hit and slapping at the table, there was some clapping. I picked up in about 5 minutes. So these people are being sat around a table who have nothing better to do. They can't learn this very simple game. I was astounded at the levels of difficulty. Like if this was a competition, it would have taken forever.
So you're saying that we're not gonna get like another rap like we usually do?
They were trying. They were really trying it. Because like it wasn't even just the white people that were struggling as well. Like it was bad.
But you're saying like you don't like you're not watching the episode or anything, but you do know about Kuzi, right?
Yes.
So we're definitely people are saying like we're definitely missing out like on live feeds of Kuzi because she's been doing like cam talks and stuff during the dailies. But like the dailies, like they're not from what I've heard, they don't like half the time they just focus on like vacuuming. Like it's really bad. Like they just then
Nonsense.
half the time they won't. The surprising thing was like with they had the fatal feast or whatever, they did give like a daily before that, so it kind of like spoiled the episode.
Oh, that was
But
hilarious.
but yeah, have sometimes like you won't even get like HOAs or nominees like during the daily, so you really go into the episode like not knowing. Like one time, like we went into the episode thinking that like someone had won safety, and it was like somebody totally different, and the nominees were totally different. So yeah, it's just a different experience viewing.
But have fun with it though.
It's almost over now. It's like the week after next is finale. There's only 5 people left, so.
Also, these little Wendy's reward points. What on earth is going on with those things?
Oh, yeah. So nobody knows. People were trying to like get it to save Kuzi or whatever, but of course that didn't happen. I didn't think it was gonna happen, and people were saying like people were tagging like Wendy's Canada. Like Wendy's is always good like with their social media people, but people were tagging it because on the website for the rewards points it's like, oh, they may have the opportunity to win a game changing power or whatever, and then somebody like tagged Wendy's on Twitter, and they replied like, "We said what now?" Like, obviously nobody knows what's going on. Like, they don't even know their own like sponsorship thing. Or I saw somewhere else that like this person that's been talking on Reddit, like saying that they have like production knowledge, and they say like the feeds might be coming back for next season, the audience might be coming back, but they also said that like Wendy's is doing like a new rewards point system, so like they're saying that like whoever has the most points in this, that'll basically transfer to their actual in life like Wendy's account. So I don't know. There's
Oh,
also people saying like I think this is more common that like it's gonna be like maybe to like get an advantage in a competition or
probably like an advantage in the final
yeah,
veto.
in the final, yeah, like they did that one year where they got like an extra, I don't know, practice run. So yeah, I think that's it.
Oh,
This is so stupid.
yeah, no. Hopefully they can go back to feeds. I think that's gonna be it for it today. You guys can follow us at Lone What's Your At on Twitter.
Oh, it's Lone Ranger 158. I might actually start Twitch streaming. I know I said that like a month ago, but I might actually start doing it this week. So
Josh, where they can follow you?
You can follow me at JoshyFLX.
You can follow me on Twitter at Algebri23. You can also follow us on, I think it's called Physical Challenge Pod on Twitter as well.
yes, Physical Chal CHAL pod.
We haven't lined up what we're going to talk about in the following weeks, but it's going to be a little surprise for you guys next week. But whenever we podcast again, we're hoping to get a more coherent schedule. But Medi signing off. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.